Welcome back. This is now part 3 of the PTK Rolepie interview series, First Interview. If you guys have caught the first 2 parts, you know this has been a bit of a roller coaster for our guests, which, again, a big thank you to Brittany, Pocahontas, and George. I can't thank them enough for volunteering to do this. As I've mentioned before, I really hope these stories have connected with you all and made you feel heard. It made some of you feel connected with one another. Like, it's not just me going through the situation. You know, I know I myself have even opened up a little bit in the interview, talking about having some housing displacement, having some financial insecurities, and during all of this. So where we last left off, we were beginning to explore the educational aspect of it. Did our instructors do well to transition? Did we as students have some difficulties in our learning styles? You know, maybe some of us are tactile kinesthetic. Maybe some of us can rely just on the sound of an instructor's voice to just get through it. Maybe we need a visual aid. How did that sort of transition for us? And that's where we began. And picking up from that, we're going to continue to expand on that. We're really excited to hear some of your viewers' feedback, or you, the viewers, I should say. See, I'm not even a good host. I can't even talk right. That's why I have a lisp during the interview. So really, really, really thank you. Please be sure to share these stories on whatever social media this is being posted on. I believe we're mostly going to do YouTube and then eventually share to Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Oof. So thank you all again for listening to the blurb, and I'm going to pass it off to the interview. And enjoy. Later. That sense of community we had as a college sort of was uneasy for a minute. Not by, any malicious intent, but just by the nature of how the world was at the time. So with all that in mind, I know we've talked about some of the issues we had with, certain departments or faculty without citing anybody, but just how hard that was. To set all that up. Was there any experience any of you guys had that made you feel seen? That made you feel like, yes, I am valid. Like someone can finally hear me.
Well, there was one instance with one of my classes, and even though I ended up having to drop the class because it was something I just could not do online because I just couldn't grasp it. I emailed the professor and I was like, look, this is too hard. I can't do this without being in person, and I would rather not take this class and do it again later and be able to do my best and do a half job now. And I was amazed that he had emailed me back and he was like, I can do whatever you need for me to do to help you make it through this course. What do we need to do? Some extra sessions. But overall, I just chose to give up the class because, there were 30 students in that class. And I just felt like the professor would have to spend so much extra time with me that it would take away from a lot of his other students. And I figured, we're all struggling, and if I was going to struggle that much, that maybe I need to just step back, because my mental health was starting to question myself. I was starting to doubt myself, and I was at the point of just ready to quit every class. Even though I was doing good in my other class, I just wanted to quit it all because I was like, this is not supposed to be this hard. And so I had to make the choice to give up that class so I can do better in my other classes. And that was the choice I ended up having to make. And I'm grateful now that I was able to make that choice rather than just try to struggle or just quit totally. And sometimes we have to make that sacrifice, and it's okay when we have to make that sacrifice, that there's that one class that just no way am my brain gonna stay right if I stay in this class.
Mm-hmm. And Pocahontas?
I feel like I had last semester, I had a period where I had a friend who went into a coma for no reason. And then I had a friend that also passed away that week. And then also a very close friend's family had lost a member all within a week. And I couldn't deal with all of it. So I'd sent a message to all of my teachers and I was like, I'm sorry if I can't focus lately or blah, blah, blah. Like, this is what I'm going through. I'm just struggling right now. And most teachers just gave like a basic response of like, that's fine, we'll work out the assignments. But then I had one teacher who actually like reached out and she's like, how are you feeling right now? Are you doing okay? Is there anything that I can help you with? And it was just like, it was such a simple, easy message that a teacher could have sent. But the fact that she sent it was like, I was on the verge of tears. I was like, thank you so much for like actually caring about me right now. Like I couldn't, it was just so simple, so easy, but it felt so personable and it made me feel so much better just to hear those words that like, I'm not just your teacher trying to get this to you. It's like, I want to be here for you. I want to help you and I want you to succeed. And it was just the most amazing moment that I ever had with a teacher.
That's really nice. And Brittany?
I agree with Pocahontas. I had a couple teachers during my time frame where they were understanding, or so I thought. Let's go that way. And that their messages were sweet. They were good on paper. But when it came to in person or later on down the road, once again, I became another student in their class. They completely forgot what I had told them. And literally, I was struggling with my husband being arrested, not being at home, the only bread maker in the household, and then trying to help him out in the middle of 2 pandemics, COVID, which they're not letting anybody see anybody in jail, and they're not letting you walk down to the courthouse because Black Lives Matter is happening. People are burning stuff down. So I'm not knowing where my husband's at. They keep transferring him. They keep doing different things like that. I'm dealing with this. I'm dealing with a friend that's in watching her kids because she was helping me get paid because I had nothing while she was going through something. And then I had a mother-in-law who just literally got lost in the middle of nowhere on a plane because she had a seizure. And then it was like, well, all happened within the same month. And then I had 2 people pass away from COVID that were really close to my family. And then you get kids that are sick. Then you have teachers missing. Then you have this happening. And it was just piling up and up and up. So when I first told my teacher, okay, it's not good for me right now. I need time. And I've said this over and over again. I say I need time, but I'm good. I usually do my work and I don't have any questions. But there are times when I didn't matter. That's literally how it felt. I didn't matter. I literally had a teacher forget. We had a one-on-one cry together on there because I told her I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. And she forgot. And I asked her for help one day and she's like, why? Like, why am I gonna help you? And I was like, why do I have to tell the story over again? I don't want to repeat it. It's already hurting me enough. I don't want to repeat it. And I mean, once again, it's just little things. It's little things. I know that I'm just another person out of these million people and you have so much going on. But I felt like with that meeting we had, there should have been something. I should have resonated somehow. We spent over an hour talking, trying to understand what turned out to just be me asking for help on a homework problem. Turned out to like a therapy session between me and her. And I literally had her in tears saying, she was going to help me. She was going to do this. And then I was forgotten just like that. And that let me know nobody else matters to me. Well, I felt like no other teacher would really care. So I had to look out for myself. So I just did everything on my own. And I know that's sad because now that's how I feel. I email a teacher and sometimes I get my hopes up. I'm like, hey, maybe I can't feel that way. There's another professor, a different person. But yet I've had the same thing with some professors starting at the beginning of this year. And it's frustrating. And I can't, once again, I don't know how it's working. I can't really blame them. I can't do this, but I just expect a clear communication. And it's all I ask for because I'm going through so much that I don't have time to decipher, just like you don't have time, like you've told me. Like, we both don't want to play games, that's fine, but I want you to hear me out and listen to what I have to say. And if I need help, I'll come to you, but just don't forget what I had told you in the beginning. You don't want me to forget what happened in the first lesson at the cumulative exam? Then don't forget about me at the beginning when we had this, like we have to work together. And that's really all I wanted. I know the one thing that lighted up my world was, and I'm going to call her name out, is Gabriella, who was my success specialist in my statistics class with Dr. Marfi, who literally came to my house and brought me and my kids food from St. Mary's when I couldn't figure out how to get there. Yes, I had cars. I didn't really have to worry about, but try lugging 3 kids on the bus, knowing that they have a limit and they won't let you bring more than 5 people on the bus. Trying to find food because you can't put gas in your car to get to the food, or whatever. And I'm already dealing with something that was really bad, that they were literally watching us, and it was like, man, I don't even have food in my house. Am I gonna lose my kids? I can't. That's like another, you just can't. You just need help, and you just don't know how to ask it, because if they're gonna forget, period. So then you just forget it. You just forget about it. You don't ask for help from the next chairman. You don't ask help from the next teacher, because you're afraid they're gonna look at you and be like, you've said so much has happened to you, you're lying. You just don't want to do your work. You don't want to be that student. I mean, I'm Phi Theta Kappa for a reason, because I can exceed, and that's what I thought. So it hurt. Like, I get what George is saying, but I know it's okay to fail, but you ask for help and people just reject you or forget about you. And that already hurts, because we're all suffering some type of mental way that being forgot even further is unexplainable. Like, you just can't explain that feeling. You just cry.
I think one of the hardest things for me that happened during this COVID thing is, after trying and after reaching out to my teachers, letting them know like everything that's going on, I had a teacher that's like, you just need to try harder, you need to work harder. And nothing has ever like punched me in the gut so hard than hearing that, because like, I'm trying my best, I'm thinking I'm doing great. Like, I was in 7 classes and I was working hard all the time, and then that's just a response that I had gotten. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, there's so much going on, so much that I'm dealing with. I'm not going to tell you, you just need to be a better teacher. Like, why would you think that's okay to say to me?
I mean, I think that was one of those things where the disconnection came during this pandemic, where I feel like sometimes if we were able to see our professors in person and actually talk to them, they're going to remember who we are, But when we had to rely on a Zoom meeting with them or a phone call, it's like sometimes you just feel like it feels like you are just another number, like, and sometimes it felt like they were trying to rush you off. Like, because I got other things to do. I have my family home too. So how can and I think we all felt that with a professor, maybe, at least. And so I that's one of those other things with connection, this whole video thing with our professors, it's a lack of empathy and a lack of connection that brings these lack of teaching ability, because this really lends to teaching ability, because this is part of being a professor or teacher, is connecting with your students, but Brittany, I feel for you on that, and I totally understand. I get it,
Yeah.
While I've been fortunate to not experience anything like that, I think, like you said, it's extremely difficult to describe. It's like, how more alone can you feel when you're by yourself? Again, somehow it happens, and it's difficult. And I think, not to play devil's advocate on their part, because of course we would still expect, some level of professionalism to all this. But, if I could surmise, I've always wondered throughout this kind of pandemic if the volume of just people who are just struggling has maybe unfortunately kind of desensitized both ourselves and our instructors. You know, it's like, how do you explain to someone you're suffering when you can be told, well, everybody's suffering? You know, and that can be in anything, but I imagine with something like this, where some of us may have been able to become a little bit more in tune with ourselves, unfortunately, maybe others have completely disconnected with just that sort of empathetic side of them. And like George, you were saying, that's very unfortunate because, you know, part of being an instructor is connecting with your students. I know it's kind of one thing to have a quirky teacher who might not know like exactly how to put things into good terms. Maybe they over-explain, but the dissonance of that human communication, you know, for some reason, reading something, it just doesn't elicit the right emotions at any time. It either isn't impactful enough for the right reasons, saying that I am struggling right now, or it just doesn't seem to resonate the way they intended to when we get back a really dry reply. And I think that equally speaks volumes to the communicative issues of nonverbal and non-in-person. So it's just kind of exacerbated all of it. Again, and this is just me kind of posing some conjecture here. And to all of you, you guys are troopers. You guys have done such a good year. I know I've checked in with all of you guys to some capacity. And you guys have checked in on me. And that always throws me for a loop. You know, I had a rough year too, and whenever I talk to you guys, I'm like, the fact that you guys are still able to communicate with me at some level, you know, and that we were just, I think the thing, not to sound like a broken record, because you guys have heard me say it in meetings so many times, but in times of tragedy like this, there's always an opportunity for human connection, for just compassion. And I hope that for all of you guys, that you're able to experience that in spades as we go on. I'm trying to stay optimistic. I know it is, to feel that it's just been 1 year is kind of, I don't want to say soul crushing because that sounds so bleak, but it makes me kind of feel like Sisyphus. I've done 100 feet up with this boulder and I haven't moved an inch. But I don't just hope that for you guys, but I also want to say thank you for you guys for taking the time to sit down with me and share your stories. For full context on these people, for those of you who are listening, this is all voluntary. And we hope that having a conversation like this can make you guys feel not so alone. Even though a lot of our professors, a lot of our staff, and a lot of our, you know, just everyone in the education system and our classmates definitely have some semblance of a rhythm to this now, it's going to take a long time for many of us to properly consolidate ourselves again to stability after this. So we all hope that, again, just you connect with this in some way, that you feel heard, that you feel seen. And if you in any way would like to reach out to us about this, please feel free to do so. I will have my email posted either on screen or in the description. I know this feels a little, because it's difficult. I think it's difficult for anybody to just be themselves, especially under a lens like this. But again, this could be that opportunity we were talking about for that human connection. So thank you all so much, and please stay tuned for future videos.